The Soulsborne series is a game series that I've always wanted to get into, but just never have for some reason. That is until Black Friday 2016 when I decided to buy Bloodborne. However, after maybe only a few weeks of playing the game, I dropped it before I even beat Papa G. I don't think it was out of frustration though. Bloodborne was just too stressful for me to play at the time. To put it crudely, I noped the fuck out and didn't play it for another year and a half. My true journey through this amazing game began anew early this year, when after beating Nier Automata I had nothing else to play but Bloodborne. However, now I was older, smarter, wiser, and I had seen the 2017 version of it, so basically nothing else scared me anymore. I started a new game, slogging my way through Yharnam, slaughtering one beast at a time, until that fateful night when I finally had my reunion with Father Gascoigne. This son of a bitch is a damn hard first boss for someone who's never played a Dark Souls game in their life, and I realized that brute force wasn't gonna be enough to win, so when he went into his final form, I spammed out a relentless barrage of Molotov cocktails. After several attempts to beat him, he was finally dead at my hands, and I could finally progress into uncharted waters. My adventure went off without a hitch until I encountered my first Snatcher. I had just defeated the blood-starved beast and was lost as to where I was supposed to go next. I was on the phone with my friend Mikey, so he looked up a walkthrough and told me to go back to the Cathedral Ward and that a new door would be open. So I warped back there, and not seeing the small door to the right, I stepped outside and saw this fucking asshole that I knew was never there before. I freaked the hell out, and before I knew it, I died. I found myself waking up in the Hypogean jail, scared shitless and pissed off at Mikey's directional skills. There wasn't a lamp in sight, and all the surrounding enemies felt far beyond my current skill level. After dying countless times, I somehow stumbled across the Yargle attire, and finally a lamp to return to. Ever since that memorable moment in my Bloodborne playthrough, I kept the Yargle set on for the rest of the game, as a souvenir from that hellhole. It was at this point on that nothing in the game scared me anymore. I'd become accustomed to the combat, the environments, and the beast that I would have to face. And yet, nothing I had encountered up until this moment would prepare me for the unseen village. Fucking ballsack giants climbing on buildings, the sky's a color I'd never seen it turn before, fucking laser beams, respawning enemies, fucking ballsack giants grabbing me and one-shotting me, and then my fateful return to the Hypogean jail. Except the lamp I used to escape was now broken, and 3 mysterious hunters waited to strike. After cheesing my way through that fight, I fought my way through the streets and made it to the One Reborn. This is the point in the game where I had to put down my controller and just think, what the fuck is that? I fought beasts, hunters, witches, werewolves, and even a giant fucking spider. But this was on a whole other scale. It was massive, it was repulsive, and it had legs for days. But it was also weak to fire. And it was at that point where I unloaded a can of whoop-ass on its many asses. Igniting my great sword into flames, I hacked and slashed and burnt that bastard to a crisp. And although that fight was incredibly satisfying, it was not my favorite moment in the game. That award has to go to the Forsaken Castle Cainhurst. I could tell that I was nearing the end of my adventure, so I decided to look up online if there was anything I had missed up until this point. As it turns out, the only optional location I hadn't been to yet was Cainhurst, and so I returned to the crossroads of Charnel Lane. To be honest, the first thing I thought of during this cutscene was...
And now, a carriage approaches to take you into the boundless realm of the supernatural. Take your loved ones by the hand, please, and kindly watch your step.
As I arrived at Cainhurst Castle, the words of my boy Alfred echoed through my mind. Something, something, Master Ligarius, something, something, Cainhurst Castle. Kind of forgot the details, just that he mentioned something about those two thingies. And so, after having an anime flashback, I began my trek through the Forsaken Castle. I gotta say, this area of the game is literally perfect. A diverse set of enemies, difficult puzzles, and exploration without making me feel hopelessly lost, and then of course the boss, Master Ligarius, which might be my favorite boss in the whole game. After dying again, and again, and again, and again, and again, I said fuck this and turned off my console. And then, the next day, I tried again and died several more times. However, I don't know if I got lucky or if I just got good, as it were. But I finally did it. I killed him. And now I was the king of Canehurst Castle. This was the first and only time that a video game has ever made my heart race so much that I was actually out of breath. And keep in mind that I am a pretty fit dude. But I never did take off that crown after defeating him. It was a sign of my victory against what was one of the hardest bosses in the game for me. There's so much more I'd like to talk about regarding this game, especially lore-wise, such as what's the deal with Mikolash? What do the different endings mean? Is it cause or cosm? What are the implications of Nightmare slain versus prey slaughtered, and so on and so forth. However, I've only played this game once, and I'm no Vadi-Vidya. I don't know jack shit about the lore of this game, but I think that's part of the charm for me. If Bloodborne was filled to the brim with cutscenes explaining each and every detail, it just wouldn't be the same. Some of the best parts of this game are just fighting your way through it all, trying to decipher what it all means and what your purpose is. Instead of releasing a torrent of exposition, Bloodborne trickles down little droplets of lore, and I can really respect that about the game. So yeah, what we can take from this video is that Bloodborne is really good, and my feeble mind simply does not have enough insight to comprehend it.
Farewell, good hunter. May you find your worth in the waking world.
And thus, Bloodborne has easily become one of my top 5 favorite games of all time. The only thing that could have made this game better is if it was like 10 times longer. I just started playing through the first Dark Souls, so maybe I'll make a video on that in the future. But in the meantime, may the good blood guide your way.